and I'm still trying to get my bearings, and I'm quite, well, a little bit sick. Jess, good morning, dear. If I sound a little under the weather, there's a reason for that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I hope you're good. I hope Rocky is there. Edge of the Thoughts of Ideas test. Well, the test is successful. You are. Oh, let me put the scene on. By the way, if you, before I turn on the camera, if you're watching right now, there's a video that I took in loop. That is Highway 15 in Pennsylvania, and you can see the hill is far more. What's it called? It's far more. It's not nearly as flat as it is in this video. That's always the case with videos. But at the top of the hill, that's where a couple weeks ago I hit a deer in the middle of the night, though, so you could barely see it. Not in the middle of the night, but I think it was 6, 7 o'clock. And stupid deer sitting right between the lanes. So you see where that truck is ahead of me? Right between the lanes. The deer's just standing there. So of course, I hit the brakes, I slow down, I even moved into the service lane and hit the brakes hard, like as hard as I could, downshifted, all that sort of stuff. And what does the deer do? Do you think it ran in the opposite direction? No, it ran directly into the truck. It made no sense. Anyways, that's what it is. All right, so good morning and an amazing morning to all of you. If I look like I have been hit by a truck as well, I kind of feel that way. Not as bad as I did yesterday when I was in Virginia, but yeah, it's been a rough couple of days. But I do have what I just found when I was unpacking, preparing for this. This is my lanyard from. This, I hope, a whole bunch of them. Oh my God, I can't believe somebody's calling me right now. Stop. You know, I have these damn focus modes set to leave me alone, and it doesn't leave me alone. Anyways, so this is my, it reminds me I gotta do something else. Let me get to that one second. My lanyard, so whenever I go to attend a conference, speak at a conference, any of that sort of stuff, I grab one of these, and so this one is from Adopting Bitcoin, and this one is from El Salvador. So there you go. Here's a lanyard that's traveled from the great state of El Salvador, if you want. But anyways, I hope you're all well, and welcome to the Freedom Coffee live stream, where we celebrate our freedoms in the past, and we look to expand those freedoms in the future. And the way we do that is we rid ourselves of any sort of stress or anxiety, and we do that with a cup of coffee. This is your big stress reliever. And we all need some sort of mechanism to get us into a state where we're not stressed. And for me, it's this, right? Because if you're not stressed, you're not suffering anxiety, then you can deal with anything. Much like during the Freedom Convoy, where lots of people were stressed, running around, all that sort of stuff. And sorry, the lights a little bright. And you know, a big part of what I was trying to do with a lot of people, some people you know, was calm them down and get them just to focus on that the world is not collapsing and everything is going to work out. Just be patient, give it time, and don't do anything. Don't make any rash decisions, or lose your temper or slip into anxiety, which I believe is still excellent advice. All right. So please like, share, and subscribe. We're on a bunch of different platforms today that I'm experimenting with. Hopefully they will work this time. They didn't work last time. Jess, I know you're there with Rocky. Ed says, anxiety relief with caffeine. Well, totally. Yeah, because it's not that it's going to boost that anxiety. It shifts me into work mode. And once you get into work mode, it's no longer, at least for me, I shift from focusing on emotional outcomes and the outcomes in particular, and just focusing on the individual tasks. It's like I don't know, it's a button you press, like on these focus modes on my phone, where you press it like, okay, now I'm in work mode. Now nothing's going to bother me. I'm just going to get stuff done, sort of thing, right? All right, so next, I want to apologize for all of this. I'm doing this on Friday. So what happened? You know, people are always like, when you're streaming, all that sort of stuff, and I'm trying to work on schedule. But here's a perfect example. So my dispatch says to me on Tuesday, I told them, you know, I'm available. When did I say them? I said I was available Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. So they messaged me on Monday. No, we don't have anything on Tuesday. I'm like, okay, great. They messaged me on Tuesday. No, we don't have anything for Wednesday, but we should have something for Thursday. Okay, great. Well, I'm in bed. I set up all this stream. This was like the first time that I was setting it up the night before. Usually I do it the morning of. I set up everything the night before, and what happened? I'm in bed. I get an alert at 1 in the morning. I'm half asleep. And this alert, well, maybe I'm fully asleep. I don't know. This alert wakes me up. And remember, I'm supposed to have a dispatch to leave on Thursday for Friday delivery. I've set up that I'm going to stream on Wednesday. What do I get? I get a dispatch to go to Virginia that morning. So, oh God, okay, great. So what I had to do is come here and reshuffle everything. That's why it's so difficult. And you know, it's really frustrating. I don't know if I'm sure all of you have been in scenarios like this. I'm really good with dealing with things get thrown, like in Ottawa. Things get thrown at you, and you got to come up with a solution quick and fast, which is exactly what we were doing in Ottawa. One day I'll tell all the stories. It was a little bit crazy, right? But I do like to have things at least I like to have them time blocked, so certain things are going to be a certain time, just for automation purposes. So you bias and structure towards time blocking on automation, and all of my tasks, none of them, well, very few of them, actually have dates associated with them. They're just kind of within blocks to give a little bit of flexibility. But have you ever worked at a company where everything is reactionary? Everything. Nothing is ever planned. It's crazy. I don't know how these businesses run themselves. I guess they're successful in spite of themselves, but everything is just reactionary. And then people wonder why employees get stressed or have low morale. You know, something I learned many, many years ago in management, which is what I tried to use in Ottawa. Like, I've managed some very large teams. Employee morale is very, very, very important. And if your employee morale is low, well, two things. First, your overall employee morale, it's only going to be as high as your most miserable person. And you have to make an effort to keep the most miserable people happy, because then everybody else will start to work cohesively. But these companies, I don't understand companies that just don't take into account the psychology of their staff. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit annoying sometimes, but you have no choice if you want to further things forward, right? Again, I give you Ottawa and the Freedom Convoy as well. While myself and some others were trying to sow an environment and an ambient of positivity and love and whatever, and that was great. The people who were on board with that, they were amazing. We all got along, everything was fine. But the people who were trying to tear it down, what were they doing to tear it down? They're trying to sow the seeds of divide and conquer and stress and, you know, whisper campaigns and, you know, like dirtbag lawyers talking shit about each other behind our backs and whatever. They'll have it coming to them. But, I mean, it's important when you have any sort of team to have, you know, a positive framing of psychology for everybody, because that way at least you can overcome obstacles. If you don't, then it'll kill you. All right, a couple more things before I start. The Christmas, it's Christmas, right? If you want to reach out with a message of positivity, what better way than telling all the positive stories from the Freedom Convoy, and some of the scary ones. You know, Dave Live from the Shed is in here as well, and when the guns were drawn on him, that was quite spooky. And also the Bitcoin story, you know, the the 2 chapters on what we went through, and for if you want to refute all the hacks online that try to smear myself and others, you know, they can't read affidavits from court documents. But anyways, all the good stuff is in here. It explains it, and there's obviously much more because it's only 200, what was it, 220 pages approximately. But this is a good base starter to reach people across the spectrum, and maybe people in your friends and family that are still a little confused about the Freedom Convoy. Let me just send something because somebody keeps messaging me. 1 second. Wait. God. You know. Okay. All right. Okay. Next. The other thing I was going to suggest, if you're going to do this for Christmas and you're looking for a range of stuff, this is very good. But another one that's quite good is this book, Reframe Your Brain by Scott Adams. You know, anybody who is, especially in the times that we're living in right now, things are a little bit stressful. We see all these fake protests all over the place. The political class is trying to divide us and all that sort of stuff. This will definitely help. This is a lot of what, you know, we talk about here is different reframing. And as I put in my Substack, bjdichter.substack.com, this was, in my opinion, the greatest reframe in Canadian history, and I explained that in the Substack. But this book it's really a good intro to it to help develop that skill. And all of these things are skills. You know, people go to the gym and they'll work on exercising all the muscles in their body, and that is important. But there's also the emotional muscles and in here that we need to exercise and expand and learn how to think differently and learn how to deal with stress and that sort of stress and all sorts of obstacles and challenges that life sends your way. And it's a really good starter book to get into that, no pun intended, into that frame. All right, so I was, some of you know, I was in Las Vegas, which is why I wasn't streaming last week, although I tried to, but we all know what hotel Wi-Fi is like, and it was just not possible. I couldn't do the conference. The hotel Wi-Fi was not great, so I figured I would wait until I start here. But I know some of you have gotten into Bitcoin. Some of you watch here, join my spaces and all that sort of stuff. If you are into Bitcoin, some of you are in the Discord, for example, you really should consider going to a conference. It's really a great experience getting to meet so many of these people from around the world who you've gotten to know and to share ideas and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this was the Unconfiscatable conference in Vegas. I think this was the 5th year in a row, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things that was great is there's people across the spectrum politically. Most of them are not really all that political anyways, so it makes it easier. But it's really, I don't know, it's a treat to finally be able to interact with people who would disagree on some ideas politically, but it's in a very positive frame. Nobody attacks each other. You just kind of agree or disagree. And you learn a lot about reaching people on the other side and what their motivations are and all that sort of stuff. Hey, maybe you could have a Bitcoin person on your live stream sometime. Well, that's me. I'm a Bitcoin person. That's why they've invited me to speak at so many of these conferences. And I'll have an announcement about that in 2024 as well, as some more conferences I'll be speaking at. But I told you I'm sick, so forgive me. Edge, what specifically would you want to learn about Bitcoin in the space? What do you want me, because I don't want to turn it into a Bitcoin space, but I definitely don't mind talking about it and helping, I don't know, raise awareness and understanding of what it is. Because really the idea is it's your hedge against the next economic collapse. That's what it's designed for. We'll find out this time if we do have an economic collapse, if it achieves what it's supposed to, but it might, right? So anyways, that's one thing. And the other thing is, if you go to Las Vegas, I posted a video of it, the Las Vegas Sphere. I don't know if you've seen it. It's amazing. So the Las Vegas Sphere is this planetarium, and it's shaped like a sphere. You know, I think of the movie Sphere, but it's shaped as a sphere, just plopped on some property. I don't know how many billions it cost them. But the whole sphere on the outside is an LED screen. It's really quite cool. It's one thing to see it on video, because I was watching a couple of videos and reading about it before I went to Vegas. But to see it in person, it's one of those few things. You know, they always say, well, it's never the same thing in person. And that's often the case, but not always. With the case of the Las Vegas Sphere, yeah, 100%. It is. It really is remarkable. So check it out. All right. See, now you'll understand why today's a little bit shorter, because I'm kind of dying. All right, Miele. Or should I say Milei, Javier Milei. Javier Milei took power in Argentina this week, which is a country, those of us who are familiar with Latin America, is very significant, both historically and economically. And that's a country that was, what, the 7th wealthiest country in the world? And then they discovered socialism, and then they turned it into a complete shithole. And then they had military rule, and it all collapsed. So that's what socialism leads to. But I had a conversation this week with somebody I know who has shared a stage with Milei a number of times, and I think he said 3 times. So he knows him. Has spoken to him many times, and shared a stage, knows his ideas and his thoughts and all that. Well, not his thoughts, but kind of understands his perspective economically on the world. And he was very complimentary towards Milei. He said, yeah, that guy really, I mean, he's a PhD in economics. He's not stupid. But he's an Austrian, which is something like, I don't know if you know. So you have different schools of thought on economics. You hear often this phrase, Austrian economics. Austrian economics is like the libertarian frame, the less government interference in the marketplace, and allow the marketplace to solve its problems on its own. And just the idea is it's no longer being coddled, right? And then you have the Keynesians on another side, which is basically what we're using right now, which is just print money like crazy. That's how you get MMT. And I don't know if you know this. You could go through university in North America at the most prestigious universities and do a 4-year degree, a master's degree in economics, and never have exposure to Austrian economics, which is kind of I guess it's the Mises. Well, there's not just Mises, but you know, that school of thought. Think about that. You can go and get a 4-year degree and then a master's degree in economics and never have studied free market economics. You want to know why our society is collapsing? It's because of crap like that. It's just like people on the left who, I'm not saying that pejoratively right now, people on the left right now who buy into all the hoaxes, or have Trump derangement syndrome, or Freedom Convoy derangement syndrome. It's because they only have ever heard what their echo chamber is telling them. They're never hearing any counter arguments. How could you be an economist, which the whole point of economics is you understand counter arguments, and never hear a counter argument to the economic system that you're being brainwashed with? It's just, anyways, it's amazing. So on the first day, and people were complaining, I just don't understand. People just don't have a concept of how politics works. But on the first day, and this is unprecedented, this is lightning fast, he did a bunch of executive orders, and he took the government from 21 departments, or I guess we would call ministries, similar to that. So the structure's a little bit different, but whatever. They went from 21 to 9 in one day. One day. That would take us here, if we could even get the political will to do that, and nobody ever wants to do anything because everyone here is a coward. Years, decades, I don't know. 21 to 9 in one day. Like, that is truly amazing. And he devalued the currency, which is hard to explain economically for a lot of people who have a very basically have understanding of economics. But the second day, what did he do on the second day? So the first day, got rid of, he took the government down to 9 departments. On the second day, he started cracking down on all the drug cartels. Now, I don't think people understand this, because we're in the West, because we are a little bit spoiled. And people don't understand what it's like to be in Latin America, where you have kind of these narco regions, little towns, little pueblitos that certain drug cartels run, and you like it's an experience you will never experience in the Western world yet. We may experience that in the near future if we continue doing what we're doing. But he went into, like, there's certain areas, they're like no-go zones. You know how France has all these no-go zones? It's like no-go zones throughout all of Latin America, that if you or I walked through those areas, we would be marked and likely kidnapped, which is an industry in Latin America. So we're, again, Argentina going from the 6th or 7th wealthiest country on the planet to no-go zones, kidnappings, and drug cartels. Thank you, socialism. Thank you. Right? Because that always leads to the pit of hell, right? So this will be very interesting to see this experiment of getting Milei elected in Argentina to shift over to, like, completely to the other side, to a free market economic model based on Austrian economics. And what's going to happen if they're successful? What happens if he goes in, even though he was elected only with 15%, he's got 15% of their house, they're equivalent to either House of Commons or Congress, whatever. Their structure's a little different, but he's got 15% of it. He needs to form a coalition, so he found a coalition partner. What's going to happen if Austrian economics takes Argentina, which over the past 100 years has completely imploded, and shifts it back to they become a dominant economic force? What's going to happen to all the closeted socialists around the Western world who are trying to brainwash all of you that you need government programs, right? You think there's going to be a lot of call for other countries to do the same? I don't know, but I think it's pretty interesting. You know. Anyways, that's what it is. All right, I'm just gonna run through these things pretty quickly because I'm deathly ill. I'm pretty sick. Okay, so we saw what happened in October 7th. A bunch of goat fuckers invaded Israel and brought in 7th century barbarism, burned women alive, tortured people, beheaded people, all the usual crap. There was a poll that came out in the past couple of days of people, I think it was Rasmussen, I can't remember. I was going through a bunch of stuff while I was loading yesterday. But the poll was taken, 72%, and just so you understand, 75% is about 100%. That's consensus in polling. Because, you know, Scott talks about this frequently, but everybody kind of knows 25% of people will get the wrong answer for every poll. No matter what, they'll just, I don't know, their brain turns off, they're thinking, they misunderstand the question, and their headspace is not right. So 75% is basically 100%. So what percentage of Palestinians who lived in Gaza, what do you think? What percentage of Palestinians who lived in Gaza support the goat fuckers invading Israel? What do you think? What percentage? Well, I'll tell you. According to this poll, and we knew it was pretty high before this, 72%. Okay, so they got what they wanted. They seemed to think it was worth it. All right, they went, they invaded, it leveled Gaza, and they're still on board. Okay, all right, so don't have sympathy for them. Sorry, no sympathy. Also, free speech is back on Twitter related to all this, because now we can finally talk about extremism, things that many people had been censored for quite some time. And if you notice now, you see people like, we'll call him Rami Tomlinson, so we don't get censored on Twitter, is back on Twitter. People are talking about all the extremist proxy groups and exposing them. Dr. David Elley, as well as another person who has a lot of good information. I think he's in California or in Israel, I'm not sure. I think he's in California. But people are just fed up. People are just fed up being fed with being told how to think and what to think, and it's enough. So that's all good stuff. So I'm positive and bullish on things in the future, that they're going to get a little bit better because of that. But yeah, it's and that's also one of the reasons we now know 72% of the people who lived in Gaza thought it was worth it. They thought it was worth it to have their own city leveled, just so they could kill some people. All right, good. Okay, so on the area of free speech is there's this technique that you can see over and over again. Somebody's kind of got this on my radar, and I think that's what's happening with me and a number of other people, despite the fact that I'm paying for Twitter services. But things will work itself out over time. People often complain about being shadow banned on Twitter, and that Twitter is not free speech and blah, 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 despite the fact that I think all evidence shows Elon Musk is doing everything he can to try to reintroduce free speech there. So what they do, this is what's happening, and you're seeing a lot of this in the political class in Canada, targeting certain people, I'm sure myself as well. This is kind of how they trigger this shadow banning. It doesn't actually come from Twitter on the inside. This is what happens. So the people who are in the political cartel who want to silence certain speech, what they do is they've always done this. They've hired a digital PR firm, and as Elon correctly explained in an interview recently, PR means propaganda. If you've ever read Bernays' book or know any of that sort of research from the dawn of modern propaganda, you would know public relations is just a rebrand of propaganda that doesn't have negative connotations, which was the idea. So what this PR/propaganda, a digital PR propaganda firm will do is they'll subcontract to some programmers to generate and deploy a list of different bot accounts, right? And we all see the bot accounts. We saw them during the Freedom Convoy. I was dealing with it constantly when I was running both Tamara's account and my account, and I was taking snapshots of the bot accounts and putting them up, and that would get more traffic and whatever. So I was able to overwhelm this tactic during the Freedom Convoy. But what they'll do is they'll deploy all these bots, so they'll create all these bots accounts, and they'll target accounts on a list that are not, let's say, aligned politically with what they want, right? So, for example, people who will speak honestly how the conservatives and the liberals both together co-opted and ruined the Freedom Convoy and caused all those truckers to get arrested. So they'll deploy the bots. They'll target the people that they want to silence on that issue. They'll deploy the bots, so the bot will be able to read the list of people that they want to silence. And what all these hundreds or thousands of bots accounts that have been created, which, by the way, they only last for a short period of time, and then they're kicked off the platform. This is kind of like the digital battlefield that's going on behind the scenes. The bot will identify a list of Twitter accounts that it wants to shadow ban, and what they'll do is they'll block it. Because in the Twitter algorithm, if it detects that somebody is being blocked, then it'll detect that, oh, people don't want to see it. Maybe the person is a bot, or maybe the person has been identified as being aggressive or saying things that are fake. Like, everybody's blocked somebody for a rational reason. But imagine if you deploy 10,000 bots and you target a few accounts and say, these 10,000 people blocked this account. What's going to happen? You're shadow banned. So that's not coming from inside Twitter. It's coming from your political class, the political people who, the donations that you give to political parties. And sometimes it's that, sometimes it's the big donors, and they'll fund operations like this. But that money will be used to generate a list, generate some bots, and block a bunch of people so they aren't heard. Welcome to the era of political free speech. So when they say they support free speech and all that sort of stuff, doesn't matter the party, they're full of crap. None of them do. None of them do. They're all socialists, all of them. That's why they're working for the government. That's why they want to get a job in the government, because they're goddamn socialists, all of them. They can't cut it in the private sector, so they go to suck on the tit of the government. That's it. That's what they are, all of them. Like, oh, this one's a real... No. They are all of them are incompetent fools who can't cut it in the private sector, who are also obsessed with power. You know, Patrick Bet-David did a video on this a number of times, a number of different videos. And I thought, and I'm like, huh, that is so perfect. So the people you need to fear most are the people who are lazy and ambitious, because they're the ones who will get you. Yeah. Those are your politicians. Right. All right. I'll talk about this tomorrow. The BlackRock has applied for an ETF, a Bitcoin ETF, which is very good news for Bitcoin, I think, over the long term. At least we hope it is. And something that came out in the past week is that one of their seed investors, so they're one of their investors helping to build this ETF, bought $100,000 worth of Bitcoin in October, hoping that this ETF will be approved. That's according to Bitcoin Magazine. So when people say, oh, Bitcoin is just a Ponzi, or Bitcoin is whatever smear they tried to give it, look, all of Wall Street is coming on board, or if you're in Canada, Bay Street has been on board with Bitcoin for some time. It is inevitable. They're not getting involved because they think it's some, Nigerian prince scam. That's not what BlackRock invests in. And listen, I understand all the uneasiness with BlackRock. We all get it. When there's some shady stuff that goes on. But that's not the point. The point is the largest investment firm or hedge fund, I think it's the largest investment firm on the planet, is buying Bitcoin. They're not buying the Nigerian prince scam. So if you want some confirmation that this digital protocol that is decentralized, that nobody controls, has validity, there's your validity. So just something to consider. All right. Last thing is, on a positive note, despite the fact it's very difficult for me, because boy, am I sick right now. Well, the positive note is I'm back home, so I can do a little bit of work today and finally get some rest. The Christmas season is above us, is upon us, which is very good. And I'm hoping this Christmas season will be a very positive one for all of you. By the way, just a reminder, I'm telling you, if you want to reach people on the other side, which is what we have to do, we can't just keep yelling at the cloud and yelling on social media and complaining about how nobody listens. You want to get them to listen, get them this story. This is of, all the books that have been written have all been written by political ops, and they're all just parroting the same, apologetics for the Conservative Party. That's all horse manure. But if you want to share the positive stories with people, and we talk about Trudeau here, of course, we're talking about it a little bit, but just to give a perspective of what we were dealing with. If you want the positive stories, you want to reach people, which is what we need to do, this is going to be your best bet. It's going to be your best bet to do it. If you have family members that are still don't understand why freedom is important, don't understand why unifying and finding each other is important, this is the book I think that's going to do it, which is why I wrote it. And this is why I try to get it out as quickly as possible. Because I knew the political trash would try to retroactively change history, which they've been trying to do ever since. But the other thing is, we're in this, not just any season, but particularly in the Christmas season, don't let the noise get to you. You're going to see a lot of bad economic data. You can see by the fact that shopping malls are empty for the first time in a Christmas season. That's not good. That's really not good. Everybody's buying their stuff from China and Amazon. Well, what's the difference? And that may have negative economic ripple effects in North America after the Christmas season, right? When we see first quarter earnings. And that might have a negative impact on the stock market. Or it may not. Maybe we have, as some people theorize now, a self-correcting economy. I don't know. I'm not an economist. But don't let the noise get to you, right? Like we're all adaptable. We can all get through some really tough times. All of you have had tough times in your life, and you've managed to overcome them. So no matter what happens, if things get a little bit difficult, you'll be able to overcome them because you always have. It might be frustrating. There's no question. It always is. But if you get out of that state of anxiety, of frustration, then you can just work through it, right? And also this time, if we end up having, economic downturns that are severe, well, now we have a hedge. Now we have the Bitcoin hedge, which we didn't have before, and that's why it was created. Jesse's talking about the Palestinian protesters. Well, the first thing to tell you, Jesse, because I know a little bit about this, having done some work in this area, you don't have to really worry because they're not Palestinian, right? None of those people are going out are Palestinian. A few of them are, a handful. Depends which country you're in. In Canada, predominantly, they're mainly Pakistani. And you think, why would somebody who's Pakistani go out and protest Free Palpatine, which is what I describe their protests? And it's pretty simple, because there's a network of money laundering through various NGOs, different groups, all that sort of stuff that are politically tied. And money basically just filters through this distribution channel, ends up at the local community center, where the imam in the community center says, hey, whoever wants to come protest this weekend, we'll give you $150 if you bring your whole family. Okay, so they're incentivized. They go down, they wave the Free Palpatine flag, death to whatever, blah, 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 and then they go home. And it's funny, because I've been to some of those protests with some friends from the Middle East who have come to Canada to get away from this garbage. And they'll go up and talk to these people. They don't care. They're just sitting there with their family. Their kids are having some cookies. They're just sitting back and watching. This is most of the people, not all of them, obviously. You have a core group of lunatics and people who are mentally ill in the middle. But most of them, if you look at them around the protests, are just kind of sitting around holding a sign, kind of bored, waiting for the bus to come pick them up and tell them when they're ready to go back home so they can collect their $150. That's why. So it's all fake. It's all fake. It's all fabricated. All this nonsense. The only ones that are a little bit more authentic are the ones that are brainwashed on university campus. And those are all white liberals, right? They're not Pakistani. They're not Palestinian. They're just brainwashed fools, right? And what happens when you're a kid in university, right? You don't have to go back in any period of history. In 80s, 80s maybe not as much, but, well, yeah, 80s was all about acid rain and stuff like that. But 70s and 60s and protesting the Vietnam War and whatever. If you get a hold of the cultural zeitgeist on a university campus, you can convince students to protest whatever you want. If they think they're incentivized, if they think they can get laid and get girls, or find people, then they'll get involved. That's it. That's what they're incentivized by. So that is not authentic either. They're just brainwashed, right? We all saw what happened in October. And I like how Scott describes it. He says, I don't care. I don't care about the historic grievances. I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't care. You went in, you chopped up a bunch of bodies, you burned people alive. Don't care anymore. And then 72% of you say, oh, it was worth it. It was worth it to destroy, to level a city because we got to kill people. Fine. Fine. Go screw yourself. No sympathy. And I think that's where we are. Rocky is yelling at you, Ben. What is Rocky yelling at me? What did I do? Rocky! Don't get upset. I miss you, brother. On that note, I'm going to cut a little bit short just because I feel like death. And I had to do this because this was scheduled. I will try to be here tomorrow. Hopefully I'll feel a little bit better. And but don't let all of this stuff get to you. I mean, the protests are fake. The outrage is fake as always. The economy may turn downward, but we're all adaptable. We all figure it out. And now we have Bitcoin as a hedge. And if you're not into Bitcoin, well, okay, eventually. I think eventually people will understand what it is. It'll take time. And if you don't understand it, don't feel bad. It takes everybody. It took me a year to understand the implications and why it is. He's yelling hello. I hope you're recording it, Jesse. If you record it, I'm going to put it up on my socials. I want people to see it. Hello, Rocky. All right. I hope that makes him happy. All right.